Hello, this is another reader. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to unhaul books that I don't want anymore. I'm not selling these books, I'm just going to wait for the right time to give them away. So let's get started, shall we? First book that I found over here is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. Here. I bought this back in 2017, read it, liked it, but then I lost interest. I thought I wouldn't read this again. I really liked The Girl on the Train by the same author, and I keep that one. I read that one twice and I will read that again. But this one? No. Next book over here is 15-year-old Captain by Jules Vern. So this is his book. I bought this back in 2013 in hopes that this would get me back into reading, but then I lost the interest midway through reading and I won't go back to it. No. The book is Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how to say his last name. So I bought this in 2016. I read this book, but I remember absolutely nothing from it, and I don't want to read this again. I actually have his book called Doomed. And I like that one. That one is staying. This one I'll have to say goodbye to. Right, this one is Dracula by Bram Stoker, but this one is more an adapted version. If I'm ever going to get back to Dracula, I'm going to change the edition. Alright, this is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is a vintage classics edition. I bought this one, but I don't like actually the edition. It's too big, too thick. And I really don't like the font. The font is too small for me. I'm going to buy a new edition in Russian. Okay, Vintage Classics Library again. This is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I bought this a few years ago, but I don't think I'm going to read this, at least not the English version. So this goes to Unhaul. This is The White Guard by Mikhail Bulgakov, a Russian writer. I read this one a few months ago, at the beginning of the year to be exact, but I didn't enjoy it. I bought this one as a birthday gift to myself and I didn't enjoy it. This is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. So I actually didn't enjoy the novel. I thought it was boring, not very exciting, and I actually didn't enjoy the author's writing style that much. It was said to be great, but I didn't find it great. Now this is the most depressing book I've ever read. This is Dandelion Wine by Bradbury. And you know, it's actually kind of funny that one of his books is in my list of favorites. I mean Fahrenheit 451, and this one, Dandelion Wine, is one of the worst books I've ever read. Oliver Twist again, but this one is a Penguin Readers edition. This one is a book by O. Henry. It's in Russian. It says Вождь краснокожих. Unfortunately, I don't remember the title in English, and it's not written here. I tried reading this, but it didn't go on me. So this one goes to Unhauled. So this is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is an adapted edition of the book. So I have read this one in Russian. And if I'm going to get the English version, I'm going to get the full version. I don't want the adapted one. This one is The Prince and the Pauper. Pauper? I don't know how to say it. By Mark Twain. This is an adapted edition. And I began reading it, but it didn't grow on me. So I have to say goodbye. This one is an adapted version of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. It's very short because it's an adapted version. If I'm going to read it one day, I'm going to get the full version. Now you're probably going to ask, how can you unhaul Harry Potter if it's one of your favorite books? Let me show you why. I got another edition, the Bloomsbury edition. So this one is the Scholastic edition, the American one. So in 2017 I really wanted to read more in English, so I bought this book. This one is called A Girl in Exile by Ismail Kadare. I don't know if I pronounce his name right. So I began reading this, but for some reason it was too strange, too hard for me to read for some reason. And 4 years later, in 2021, when I tried to read this again, after reading a lot of books in English, I learned that this book is actually translated from Albanian. This is originally in English, as I thought. So when I began reading this, I wasn't interested in the plot. I really thought, I'm not interested in this. I'm not going to read this. This book is by Louis Bersenard. It says Captain Sarvigalava. I don't know how to say that in English. So I tried reading this and it didn't grow on me. I'm not interested. This one is another book by Jules Verne. This is Around the World through 80 days. I began reading this and it didn't grow on me. I lost interest quite quickly. Oh, these are books I bought in 2004, so long ago. This is King Arthur and the Knights of Round Table by Howard Pyle. And this one is Some Scary Stories by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, these books are good, but they are too short. I probably need to buy a bigger version one day. This has been in my house for years, for probably 15 years, since 2006. This is Witch Week by Diana Wynne Jones. I tried to read this multiple times and it didn't grow on me. And then I found, many years later, I found that this one is actually a third book in this series. So I read this book a few months ago. It's The Kite Manner by Khalid Hosseini. I read this and I was like, yeah, okay, moving on. It was okay book, but I'm not planning to read it again. So this one goes to Unhauled. This one is Glub Slime by Jacqueline Wilson. When I was younger, I loved the Jacqueline Wilson novels. I still own them in Russian though, but this one didn't seem that interesting or memorable as the other ones, so this one goes to Unhauled. This one is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This is an adapted version and you have English over here and Russian over there. So English on the left and Russian on the right. This even comes with a CD. I read this one, liked it, and I will change the edition. I will buy a new version one day. This one actually has an interesting history. In 2016, when I was in Turkey, I saw this book. This is After You by Jojo Moyes. it's a sequel to Me Before You, a great book actually. And I saw it on near the pool in a hotel in Turkey, and I asked a woman that had this book, did you like it? Was it good? And she was like, okay, yeah, you can have this book for free. I don't need it anymore. And this ended up with me, but 5 years passed. I didn't read it, and I'm not planning to. I liked Me Before You, but this one didn't spark my interest. So this one is actually one of the worst books I've ever read. This is Gloriana, the Unfulfilled Queen by Mikhail Moorcock. So I was actually interested in reading Mikhail Moorcock novels because I listened to Somewhere Far Beyond the album by Blind Guardian, and that's how I found out about him. I haven't read the Elric saga, but I went to the store and found this. This book was, I feel like it was waiting for me, and it was like, buy me, and I did, and it turned out to be disappointing. Now, granted, I didn't buy them simply because of Blind Guardian. I just read the annotation and I liked it. I thought it was interesting. But when I read this, I felt like I was kind of deceived. Oh, I'm going to talk about this book in the next video. Before I unhaul this, there are things I don't like about it. This one is called Demon Witch by Jeffrey Huntington. I never read this book. I bought this book in 2006 in Moscow. It turned out to be the very last book I ever bought there before I moved here. It's actually a second part in the series, but I didn't know that back then. So I'm not interested in reading this, and this also symbolizes not the best part of my life, so this one goes to unhaul. The last book I'm going to show you is the collection of stories by Arthur Conan Doyle. This has nothing to do with Sherlock Holmes. So I was given this, but it never sparked my interest.